Their race to the bottom, that's the focus of tonight's Angle. Well, it should surprise none of us. The same party that defended slavery in the 19th century and that gave us Jim Crow laws in the 20th century is still defending racial gerrymandering in the 21st century.
Today's decision by this illegitimate Supreme Court majority strikes a blow against the Voting Rights Act.
The conservative majority on the Supreme Court took another step towards resurrecting the Jim Crow South.
It is an attack on a crown jewel of our democracy.
Of course, Jeffries and company never miss an opportunity to inflame tensions by misstating the facts, and in this case, the law. This ruling was decades overdue. The Supreme Court significantly and properly narrowed the obscene practice of using race to draw congressional districts.
Tell me about what happened.
Well, some think that the ruling could create more Republican-held congressional seats in the South.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's the kind of ruling I like.
This ruling is a win, I think we can say, for Republicans. And it also, I think, will call into question about a dozen or so existing majority-minority districts, mostly in the South.
This is huge for the control of Congress, could lead to an additional 19 House seats for Republicans. More on that in a moment, because today's case involved Louisiana's move to create a new legislative district, and it was done in response to a lower court's ruling that the old map that was in place in Louisiana had somehow violated what's called Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. So back in 2022, to comply with this lower court order, Louisiana created a new majority black district. Well, Chief Justice Roberts described that new district as looking like shape-wise like a snake that stretched from 200 miles to link parts of Shreveport, Alexandria, Lafayette, all the way to Baton Rouge. It was insane. So this was a 6-3 majority opinion. Justice Alito wrote it, saying that allowing race to play any part in government decision-making represents a departure from the constitutional rule that applies in almost every other context. Compliance with Section 2 thus could not justify the state's use of race-based redistricting here. The state's attempt to satisfy the lower court's ruling, although understandable, was an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. Of course, the king of racial arson, Al Sharpton, said the decision is a bullet in the heart of the voting rights movement. He said, "We'll fight in the streets and in the courts and in the halls of Congress until the right to vote is fully protected for every American." Look, for decades, the Democrats have tried to use this Section 2 of the 65 Voting Rights Act as a cudgel, not as a shield. And they did it to justify the creation of majority black or minority districts through this weird redistricting process. And they claimed it was a general remedy for past discrimination and the need for more minority representation, as if skin color is determinative of voting patterns. To me, that's racist. But finally, the court interpreted the statute's protection to align more closely to its original meaning. Remember, Section 2 focused on the denial or abridgment of the right to vote, not to the right of a particular outcome. Think instead about practices like poll taxes and literacy tests. Couldn't do that. An action by the state around voting can't result in less opportunity than other members of the electorate to participate. That's fair. And one factor, this isn't Section 2, in this determination may be the extent to which minorities have been previously elected. But, and this is important, in that statute, it adds that the Section 2 does not establish any right to proportional representation of any protected class. So look, what Democrats are really mad about here is that the racial gamesmanship is over. And when states are redrawing congressional lines in the future, they'll be able to do it by following county lines and just common sense geographical factors. These amoeba-like, snake-like districts that have been created by court order after these Section 2 challenges, they're likely going away. And in a country that's becoming more racially and ethnically diverse by the day, this fixation on majority-minority districts, frankly, doesn't even make sense anymore. It's also telling. Affording equal opportunity to vote and participate in elections, that's what our Constitution and Voting Rights Act requires. But requiring voter ID isn't disenfranchising minorities any more than the drawing of a congressional district without racial animus. This party, Democrats, they say they care about democracy, right? Institutions matter to them. But the Democrats always show us that they are willing to burn it all down when they don't get their way. So it's fine to disagree strongly with the court's reasoning. I do often. That's one thing, but branding the court illegitimate and warning of a racial apocalypse because of this ruling is more than out of line. It's dangerous. From just the events of this past Saturday, we know the assassination culture on the left is alive and well, and it's not just President Trump in the crosshairs. Justice Kavanaugh's would-be killer showed up at his home. Amy Coney Barrett, she's been relentlessly harassed. This has got to stop, and only the Democrats can put an end to it. So stop lying about the court targeting blacks and minorities. Stop lying about Trump being a Nazi. Just stop. The sad truth is they'd rather continue this dangerous rhetoric than govern in a way that helps people, the people they claim to care about. So I'm going to ask these questions. Do Democrats not think minorities in these districts want better public schools? Do they think they want better access to good-paying jobs or safer communities? Of course minorities do, just like everybody else. And if Democrats gave a damn, they'd shut down the racial grievance machine once and for all. The first black president, Obama, elected with a majority white support, yet he threw a match on the kerosene today as well. He said the court seems intent on abandoning its vital role in ensuring equal participation in our democracy, protecting the rights of minority groups. Totally irresponsible. And it's cynical as well. It's an odious fabrication. Who exactly is not allowed to vote or participate in democracy because of today's ruling? I'll give you an answer. No one. But he, like Al Sharpton and Jeffries, they want to use this as a way to fan the flames of resistance to drive turnout for the midterms. After all, it's all they got. And that's The Angle.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.